Hi, I'm Damon Bonser, CEO of British Design Fund, and joining me today is Daniel, founder of Lutra Marine. Thanks, Daniel, for your time today.
Hi, Damon. Yeah, nice to be here.
Look, I think that's the whole purpose of this, just get to know you and Lutra Marine a little bit better. So, do you want to sort of kick off and just tell us a little bit about Lutra, the product, and how it came to be?
Yeah. So Lutra focuses on dredging. We aim to improve the environmental impact of dredging. We can, and through that process, we've found that our equipment can also be used to a higher level of precision than existing dredging equipment. The company started, or I had the idea for the company back in 2014 on a school field trip. My teacher made a clever comment about how you wanted to dredge a beach, but the landowner wouldn't let you get access to the beach. So purely as a project to enhance my UCAS application, I went back and devised a scheme to actually extract the resource in the beach. And through that process, we found that there was this big problem in dredging in general, especially close to special scientific interest. And also we sort of found a viable business in the dredging market using our equipment. So from there, we developed a small scale prototype that we tested. It was a fish tank in our back garden, but the results were extremely promising. And from that, we tested a scaled version at the University Coast Lab in Plymouth. And from there, we've now built a full-scale prototype that was tested in Hale in August last year.
Okay. Yep. Well, look, we'll pick up a bit more about the way it's been designed. So I imagine some of the viewers still might be a bit baffled by this. It is quite niche, but that's what we like. But we'll cover it when we touch on the design pieces in a moment. But before we get there, do you want to tell us a little bit about your background? I know you sort of mentioned this kind of was a pre sort of university project really, but like talk a little bit about your background and the other team.
So the team at the moment is just myself and my father. My background is I started the company straight out of school. I studied geology, chemistry, physics and maths at A-level with the idea of going on to study mining geology at Camborne School of Mines down in Penrhyn. And Dad's background is really electrical engineering and the civil service. So he, back in the 90s, was a project manager on a building in London, and he put the largest fibre network in Europe at the time. So he's got experience of large projects and engineering, both mechanical and electrical, due to his degree. And between
sounds like engineering's in the blood somewhere there.
Yeah, between us is kind of we've developed the design to match what the clients need. So right from the off, we had we seem to have ticked a lot of the boxes, and then through speaking to clients through the process, they said, "Oh, it'd be good if it could do this," and it's like, "Can it do that?" And it's like, yeah, very easily, because of the flexibility of the design. We've been able to add features to the unit. Really neat.
That's how the design process works, right? You've got your two ears, and you listen twice as much as you talk, and make your changes and iterations. No, very good. Look, I'm not, no one's a fan of COVID, but we can't avoid talking about it. Like, how has COVID impacted your business over the last sort of 6-7 months?
I mean, really, it's sort of put the business into hibernation while we're waiting for a second tranche of funding. It's really just a hibernation due to the lack of the funding. We still have
market kind of remained the same.
I'd say, yeah, the market hasn't fundamentally changed. There's been it was shut down because of the lockdown, but we've had inquiries from companies asking for work following lockdown. We're in discussions with a harbour in Somerset. They want to start dredging pretty soon. So we're going through the process of tendering for that at the moment.
Okay. Well, at the design fund, like one of our kind of key sort of pillars of the way we work and the kind of companies we like working with is looking for businesses that really like have a really user centric approach. So they design things with the user in mind, a real purpose behind that design. Do you want to talk a bit about how you're, maybe talk a little bit more about the actual product itself, this tool that you've developed, this method,
Yeah.
and how it's been designed with that, thinking about that user.
I mean, we set out really on day one to solve the environmental impact and the problems associated with conventional dredging operations. And yes, we've successfully done that. The tests at Plymouth and in Hale proved that. But through discussions with various parties, harbour masters and companies, it turns out that they're also extremely interested in the precision side of the dredging equipment. And it wasn't a problem we necessarily knew when we set off down this road, but it turns out that the design of the cutter head enables us to dredge to a much higher precision than existing operations. Through that, we've got various attachments that can be added to the unit, which we had thought about in the design process, but it's turned out that these will be extremely useful to a lot of clients. So we can lock the depth off, we can run right up against harbour walls. It's sort of, I wouldn't say accidentally because it was always in the back of our mind, but there's a lot of benefits that have been added through talking to these clients without fundamentally changing the design. It was stuff we'd always had in the back of our mind. It's just confirmed how useful these features would be to potential clients, should I say.
Yeah, yeah. And then do you want to talk a little bit about, I suppose the importance of how the business makes some money? Like what's the route that these cutter heads that you've designed that that can extract and maintain harbours and without creating all the silt and sediment that disrupts the areas, like who are the sort of decision makers? How does that get into a harbour and start doing what it should be doing?
So we have the harbour masters themselves, who are responsible for the day-to-day running of the harbour. They are the decision makers in ports and harbours. We've got through the harbour master at Hale, we've been invited to attend the AGM of the Southwest Harbours Association. He's seen the cutter head in action 3 or 4 times now down at Hale and has been suitably impressed to say that he's passing it on to the Harbour Masters AGM. We have held a demonstration down in Hale in February and had interest from everyone that attended that. We'd really like to revamp the website and get exposure through the trade shows such as Seawork. Again, they hold the AGM for all the harbour masters in the UK. So it's really try and build exposure of the unit.
Yeah, well, I guess, and from what I understand, there's sort of 2 businesses. There might be commissioned pieces, almost created and sold, very transactional, sold on, and then or leasing it for, I don't know, putting it onto the back of a boat while it clears out a harbour for maybe 2 or 3 months, right?
Yes. So there's the sales of the cutter head and servicing of those sold units, and then there is the such dredging contracts where we either do it ourselves or lease the unit to a company or the port for them to carry out the works themselves.
Yeah, great. Lastly, without giving any secrets away, I mean, you've mentioned some of the kind of tweaks to the tool as you listen to your users, even and you get to know your users even better. But anything you can kind of share with us at this moment about sort of future developments? Like, how do you sort of see the business growing and the products and the services growing over the next few years?
I would say we have, at the moment, there are 3 new pieces of equipment that I have had ideas for. I've done proof of concept on 2 of them, but just the third one is in the pipeline. They're complementary to the cutter head. So one of them will enable us to return sediment without causing the plume for the dumping side of things. And then there's a big problem for operating of excavators at sea is as the boat goes up and down in the swell, you can bend the hydraulic rams on the excavator really quite easily. So I have a device in mind to actually go between the cutter head and the excavator, to actually, it's basically a damper, but it's
Don't give too much away. Don't give too much away.
Yeah.
There's lots in the pipeline to be excited about.
Yeah.
But Daniel, really good catching up with you, and we look forward to working with you and supporting you. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you very much.